All right. Hello. Hello. Welcome to the Week 5 overview for Park University's Communications 306B. I'm your host and Master of Ceremonies, Chris Tower, and this is how I normally dress. I've been being a little bit more formal with you with button-down shirts previously, but I thought, I tend to wear yellow in the spring. And it's spring, and I am getting outdoors. I hope you're all safe and healthy and well. And so let's dive in with what we're doing this week. So first of all, I would like to share with you the classroom and look at some of the elements of the classroom for this week. And of course, I have to navigate all sorts of open windows because it's a crazy world we are living in. Yeah, okay, Zoom. Go away. Let me get to the dashboard and then into the classroom. Actually, I can go from here, probably be better. So I don't know if you're doing this, but modules view is my recommended way to look at the course. There's lots of navigators. You get reminders for assignments. You get, calendar stuff. I don't tend to do things with those elements, but modules view is where I am all the time. And of course, these toggle. So I could reduce these. I could collapse these modules. I'm sorry, my computer is running very slowly because there's so many things open. That's probably not wise. Come on. There we go. All right. So I'm just going to collapse down to week 5 and look at some of the things that we're doing. We just have one discussion this week and one written assignment, but I made some changes. I hope you're looking at the overview every week. I'm not going to show this to you, and the lecture. This is not my lectures, but they're good, and they're based on the textbook. So I think they're worth your time. So I'm going to open up the discussion here to talk about that first, and then we'll talk about the written assignment a little bit. So again, slow loading. I hope this isn't affecting the video because my video playback is affected. So here's the discussion. If you scroll down, of course, I hope you've noticed that I think I shared this with you earlier. You get the unread button. You can also search just for my entries if you want to read all my entries. Like last week, you might want to have read all my entries to other students. That would be a quick way to do that is type my name in there, but I can collapse what we have here so far, which isn't a whole lot. You'll notice that I extended the deadline on the main post to Friday, and I extended the deadline on the entire discussion to Monday. And I did that primarily because I'm actually less interested in the main discussion item this week as I am in all the auxiliary discussions I'm going to post that relate mostly to resumes and cover letters, because I really want to do an extensive discussion of resumes and cover letters, which is what I would work you through in a live classroom. We would do small groups, we would do a lot of different things. But in the online environment, I got to modify our approach a little bit, and so I'll post a variety of extra discussions, which I strongly encourage you to participate in. In fact, I'm going to probably overload, add a whole bunch more today instead of spacing them out quite as much. I'll try to do a new one more or less every day. Last week, I think I had 2 skip days. I think I skipped Thursday and then Sunday. I'm allowed to skip 3 days. I almost never do. And often I only skip 1 day where I'm not having any activity in the classroom. Right now, I think Sunday is going to be that day for sure. mainly I want you to spend extra time working on a LinkedIn a post that's really good and attention grabbing. And I want to talk about that a little bit. Um, and then respond to each other about that. I tend to not get involved in the LinkedIn posts very much. I post replies in one or two during the week because I'm more interested in the resume and cover letter discussions that I want to generate, because that's the main assignment for the week. That said, with my extra discussions this week and week 7, when we'll be talking about the oral presentation, I'm more than willing and ready to award a lot of bonus points for posts of great quality and numerous posts that show that you're really participating, trying to make our discussion a thriving and engaging environment, which is why I push back the deadline on the main post. Now, I encourage you strongly to read all these links. In a minute, I'm going to show you the one that I favored the most. I want to draw your attention to this right here. That LinkedIn posts should be, and it actually should be fewer. I should go in and change this. That amuses me to no end when course developer who wrote this used less here instead of fewer. 2,000 characters, 300 words. And what you want to do is you want to try to get, you don't want to be super, super short, because that doesn't show that you have a lot of value. But also you don't want to, just try to get it, to that max length, So the sweet spot is probably 200 to 250 words. I don't know what that would come out to in characters, but there is a limit on this, so I would try to get over 200 words, but you don't need to get up to 300 unless you feel like you have a lot to share on your LinkedIn profile. But the most important thing about the LinkedIn profile is to grab the reader's attention and make them interested in looking at the rest of your LinkedIn page and perhaps sending you a message, hiring you, whatever. LinkedIn is used a lot out here. And since I moved out west, everybody was like, get on LinkedIn or reach out to you on LinkedIn. They're very big with that out west here. I hadn't used it as much in Michigan, which I thought was kind of interesting. So I'll show you this here in a sec. I want to go back and just sort of look at the written assignment. And then I'm going to show you materials for that as well, because I've taught resumes and cover letters for many years. Way back in the 80s, I wrote a software program that was a tutorial for creating effective resumes and cover letters and doing job searches. And so I did tons of research into this subject. But there's a lot of disagreement in the business world about what is an effective resume and a cover letter and the different rules. I worked with a recruiter out west here when I moved out here and was looking for work. And he sent me a template of what he thought was the ideal resume. And it was one of the worst things I have ever seen in my whole life. It was terrible, terrible, terrible. And yet he thought it was, what you should do, and if I was to apply for jobs through him, he wants a resume in that form, So despite the fact that it's horrible, and it violates everything that I believe about good resumes, it's what the world is out there. A lot of you are military, and the military in many ways is still stuck back in the 1950s. And I say that based on what many of my military students over the years here at Park have told me. So don't feel like I'm criticizing the media or military unfairly. I'm just repeating what I've been told. And that wasn't a surprise to me. So they love chronological. The military and the US government loves chronological resumes, which are really an outdated and old-fashioned mode. And that's part of what I want to talk about in the discussion this week. But notice really clearly what you have to do here. And I tried to highlight some of the requirements. So there's 3 parts. You have to find an actual job ad and include it in your packet. You got to give me a cover letter and a resume, and it really should be all in one file. I will take it in 2 files. So if you want to put the job advertisement in one file and your cover letter and resume is another file, that would be okay. the cover letter and the resume need to be separated within the same file so that they're each, like say your cover letter is 1 page, that should be 1 page. Then the next page should start your resume. It shouldn't start at the bottom of the cover letter page if there's room. That would be terrible. So think about those things. And then there's a lot of guidance here, and I'm going to provide a ton more guidance through the discussion this week. That said, let's start by talking a little about LinkedIn. So I'm going to reshare here and go to PDF land because I already have PDFs open. So what I did was I took, and actually I have it over here on my other screen, but I'm going to move it. Oh, it doesn't like that. So let me redo that. In fact, while I'm at it, let me move other things because it's gonna squawk at me if I don't do that because I have lots of things over on my second monitor, and I mean, I guess I could share it with you that way, but then I'm looking over the side here, not looking at you. So okay, I think I have everything on this monitor now. Sorry, I didn't have that all set up. So share PDFs. And what I did was I took those links and I took the articles at the links there in the discussion and created PDFs of them and found another 2 or 3. I can't remember exactly how many extras I found, and put those in a folder in files. So if you want to download them and access them that way, you can. And this is my favorite, 3 stunningly good LinkedIn profile summaries. And it's my favorite, and it's the one I encourage you to use as you're rewriting your LinkedIn profile. And I'm going to share at least one sample from former students in the discussion, but try to be creative. This is how you grab a reader's attention, because if you just write a rote thing like everybody else's, it's not going to be very effective. And of course, you have to modify your approach based on the career field that you're thinking of going in. Think of your audience. So the way you express this creativity has got to be modified. I practice a lot of whimsy here in the classroom because I can. It's education, and there's a certain amount of entertainment expectation, right? But if I was in some super serious career field, I would tone it down. And I love this thing with Harriet the Spy. This grabbed my attention. This is fantastic, and this isn't very long. She has a short written things here. There's some humor. She talks about her passions, my passions. She's got a quick list of specialties. I think that's really good. Paul Simons is not as creative connection to childhood, but it's engaging. No one is good at everything. That makes me want to keep reading. What is he getting at, right? And it's a similar kind of form here. With the specialties at the bottom, and I liked Mark's here too. But he's a little more straightforward. This is who I am. But it's got some really nice lists. I have big ideas. I'm the calm one. If my left and right brain were hands, I'd be ambidextrous. It's clever and amusing. So definitely learn from these. Try to do something of your own that is just as good. And so that said, I want to talk a little bit about resume and cover letter stuff. So I'm going to work through my PDFs, and then I'm going to show you stuff I have in Word documents. All of this stuff is in files. So one of the things that, in fact, I think I have the books handy. Actually, just a sec. They're right here. Damn Good Resume Guide and the Damn Good Resume Catalog were books that I found were among the best for job search and formats. So I posted 2 different damn good guides in files, one specifically for college students and one for transitioning adults, right? Before these resume samples, it takes you through a lot of activities, which you could look at, you could do if you're interested, to identify your skills, to identify your job objectives. I'm not going to show you all that, but you could look at it if you want. One of the things to keep in mind here, is that I really want you to practice something other than traditional chronological format that's really static and boring and really doesn't show your value. A traditional chronological format shows a chronology, sure, but the goal of a good resume, and we're not even talking about cover letters yet, but the goal of a good resume is to show your value and to save the reader's time more than in any other documents we've worked on so far this semester. Design is extremely important this week in this assignment. You really need to be able for the reader to grab what you're trying to express from your resume in a glance, you know, and think about it. If people are sorting these old school with paper, right? Maybe they have a yes pile, a no pile, maybe a maybe pile, right? You know, you probably got 4 seconds. They skim it for 4 seconds and put it in the yes, no, or maybe pile. And then the yeses are the ones that get culled through and maybe get called for interviews. The no's are just discarded. And then the maybes might get culled through to pull out and sort another time into yes and no. Or, you know, depending on the yeses and how many candidates, you know, they put into the second round, you know, maybe they grab maybes then, right? But you have 4 seconds probably. So design, extremely important. And I love this kind of design. This is similar to what I did with my resume, which I'll be sharing with you, but I didn't want to do that here in the video. So notice the, you know, the important details up at the top. I encourage students to put their LinkedIn web address here as well. And depending on the job field, you might share, say, a Twitter or something like that. If that's relevant, but certainly a LinkedIn as well as an email. A lot of people nowadays say that the address is no longer relevant because we're so digitally connected that a phone number and an email and maybe the LinkedIn address is all you really need. Short objective. I've seen students write huge paragraphs for objective, short objective, you know, just like the name of the job, basically. Or here it gives, you know, some like types of jobs, you know, career transition, job search coach, instructor, facilitator, you know, keep it short. And a professional profile, I like to call it highlights of qualifications, whatever you like to call it. Bullet points, just a few things, different items. These are the highlights of what make you of value for this particular job. And you rewrite these depending on what job you're going for, because you tailor your resume for each job you're going for. You know, I can't stress that enough. You know, like every time you apply for a different job, it has different qualifications. You know, it has different requirements. And you have to tailor your cover letter and resume for those jobs. Now, some people are in career fields where they don't have to do a lot of tailoring. Like my wife works in healthcare. She doesn't really have to do a lot. Me in education, trying to get a job as a software developer or technical writer or project manager, I'm rewriting these things almost completely for every job. It's extremely time consuming. So, but you know, I have some base setups, right? So, you know, in a glance here, this is really nice. We'll be talking in discussion this week about how these get parsed by database engines and put into applicant tracking systems. So a lot of graphics and things, excuse me, don't necessarily get parsed. And so a lot of people going to, when they submit digitally, when they're pretty sure there's an applicant tracking system that their resume is going to get imported into, they go with a real vanilla thing as opposed to somebody that's actually going to look at the file, or it might even get printed on paper, and then that's a more graphical approach like I'm going to show you. So, but you'll notice what this does is it's not chronological. You know, it's not a list of jobs that are sorted chronologically. Instead, it breaks, skill areas. Here's the skills with instruction. There's some variance to the list and the position on the page that aid with scanning. I like to add other text effects like bold and italics to make some words pop. Some people don't like that. And then you see the career personal development stuff. This one's a little dense. And I was going to skim to see this one's a little dense. It probably could have been spread out onto 2 pages. Nowadays, lots of people going to 2 or even more pages in their resumes. Now, this is a huge controversy in the job world. This recruiter that I mentioned earlier and other people like him, some are very strongly opposed to resumes that are more than a page. Other people see the value that if you have a pretty storied professional career, you have lots of accomplishments, you've done lots of things, you have tons of experience, there's no possible way that even tailoring down and trimming, you can get everything that you need to share on 1 page. But this is a debate that's ongoing, right? I think 2 pages is fine. Now, this doesn't discard chronology, because after the sorting by skills, which is what we call this, then there's the relevant work history and education down the bottom, right? And it shows the chronology, and then people can see if there might be gaps in the employment, right? Which I think is a ridiculous thing to look at, because, who knows? Like, what if I had to stay home, take care of the kids for a while my wife was working or whatever, like it's dumb, I think, anyway. You can look at these others. I'm not going to go through all of them. They're all pretty similar, but they take different approaches. Sometimes education is higher up on the list because there's less professional experience, or it's more important to the particular job. You got to think about these things, right? And so I strongly recommend you to try one of these formats. And of course, I gave you a bunch of others that you could use as templates, and so think about graphical approaches. I'm going to share my curriculum vitae with you as well, which is like 8 or 9 pages long, which is pretty standard in academia for someone with a CV. CV and resumes are very much the same thing, except that a CV can be much, much longer than a resume. This is a quick 1-page CV, but it's got a nice 2-column approach. You see it's got really nice, you can scan this really nice, and the contact information is up here in a colored box. That's very nice. What I don't like, though, are blocks of text. And so I'll talk about, getting rid of blocks of text. And of course, you want things on here. If you've got things on here that will, that they'll want to ask you about in the interview, like this person working security at a Bonnie Raitt concert, people that are hiring and be like, oh, I want to talk to this person. Or in case it's a male, I want to talk to this guy. So here's another approach, also with the 2 columns. It's got nice layout, different text effects to make different things pop. It avoids dense blocks of text. So this is really nice. And of course, you want to think about the list of, especially in tech, a list of basic skills here, C, C++, CSS, PHP. Some of you might not know what all that is, but I do. And this is one of my favorites, but, here's a, woman that was a president, CEO of Yahoo, or is actually, it's ongoing. And of course she can make a resume that's wonderful like this. This was made with LaTeX, or LaTeX, depending on how people want to pronounce. But notice that she's got her Tumblr, she's got her LinkedIn, she's got her Twitter, she's got a life philosophy. She put a picture. These things are not outrageous, but this, people are doing these things in the work world right now. But this would not get parsed in an applicant tracking system. Of course, she's powerful enough CEO that she's unlikely to be going into an applicant tracking system. This is a resume she would be sending directly to an employer. I don't care what kind of resume you create in terms of whether it would be parsed with an applicant tracking system where it's more graphical. I would actually like to see you play with the graphics. This is one that I typically share either this week or next in discussion, an image at a time. But I just love this. She did a pie chart for her schedule every day. You know, it's got great design. It's got great color. I love the purple. Purple's my favorite color. You know, this is definitely something. Maybe just grab ideas from it, though. I love this most proud of list. Really great stuff. So let's see. I'm going to show you some more. I'm probably already over what should be my limit with you know, the size of these videos. But you know, oh well. I'm gonna have to share. One of the things I dislike about the sharing system is that I have to share these things, Microsoft Word, one thing at a time. You know, so that's going to be tricky. But this I really like for design. So this is a Word document. It's ready to be a template. It's in our files. This is too dense, though. You know, this needs to be broken up here. But nice text summary, IT experience. This could have been spread out. You know, this is a one-pager. This could have easily gone two. You know, you spread this out up here, do the highlights with the bullets, spread this out and break down and give it some sort of label. This has no label. You know, this would work better. You know, so there's that. I wonder what happens if I close this while I'm sharing it. I mean, I see the last thing that I shared, but I don't. Oh yeah, okay. So it tells me that it defaults back to the video. Thank you for letting me experiment. All right, I got a few others open. I'm gonna share these one at a time with you. So this one also had some nice design. This is ready, template ready, because it's not showing you any real content. It's using I can't remember what this is called, but there's a name for this where they just put in what looks like other languages, you know, just to so you can see what the format looks like. This is a one-pager, but it's got, you know, nice colored boxes, you know, and that's cool. So I'm just going to continue to stop that, and then it'll say, I can't share that because you closed it. And so I have to pop back to the video. But at least this way I can keep track of what I've shown you so far. So I think I just have two more open. So this one is nice with the two-column approach. You know, is a basic one-pager, but doesn't have that highlights qualifications unless that's what this is supposed to be. And you could bullet this a little better. I think it's a little too dense in here, you know. And I would you know, pop this down onto a second page and probably expand this experience section into a whole page. It's also this is the standard chronological form, because it's just job by job with experience underneath, and blocks of text like this are just not good. They're not workable. You know, you want to think about scanning. You want to think about how the reader is going to skim through what you've created, and decide whether or not you're an interview candidate. So I just have one more to show you. Which is a similar approach, but it was actually by a student in this class, and it doesn't include the cover letter. And you really got to think about how you start your cover letter and grab the reader's attention. You know, this one I thought was great. You know, you got to also think you attitude somewhat, because you're showing your value to them. So be careful about how many times you say I. Obviously, you have to say it. Obviously, you have to talk about yourself. That's the whole point of a cover letter. But if you're starting too many sentences with I, it gets really redundant. and you want to try to talk about them. What do you know about them? You know, so that's ways this could be improved. But it had a great starter, had a great starter. And we want to get away from that traditionally lame, you know, I saw this ad and I think I'm a great fit for this job kind of lame-o thing. Because think about these people looking at these things. You know, if you're writing it exactly the same as all these other people, why would they care about you? And of course, again, this is dependent on the career field. In some career fields, the creativity is valued over others. I may show you some of the more creative things I've done recently with cover letters. I have not been successful. I have not gotten an interview with them, but I think my approach is sound. I'm just in a highly competitive situation, and I don't have experience with some of these jobs I'm applying for. So I love this setup, but again, you know, professional summary needs to be broken into bullets with a list. You know, work history, you know, I don't really like this format. I'd rather it be organized around skills, you know, but you got the skills list here on the left, which is nice, you know. So, and this one did go 2 pages, but it doesn't have a lot on the second page. So if you're gonna go 2 pages, make sure that you can make good use of your second page. You know, this is the kind of thing where, you know, you got this first page is really dense. And some of this stuff should have gotten moved down into the second page. So that's what I got for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna upload this to YouTube because I'm hoping that I can reuse it. So thanks so much. Have a great week 5. I'll be talking to you. Bye.